So that way nobody gets burned out. So I have a team that's 6 feet, 3 of them will work the kitchen, 3 will work the dining area. Yeah, I'll be kind of like a floater. I'll do whatever needs to be done.
You got more on one team than we got the whole area.
And I've got another person at the registry that'll be collecting the money and all that. So
it takes a long time.
it's all up in my head, so I'm putting it together on paper and meeting with my teams. We're going to serve our first meal on July 17th.
Problem is I don't really.
We're going to do a traditional meatloaf with garlic mashed potatoes and what I call Italian green bean medley. It'll have a mixture of Italian and like green beans, garlic, oregano, basil, sweet spices. I like the garlic mash. That's my favorite. I'm going to cheat because I'm going to use the instant mat and doctor. I found out that we do them about as good as
they take, once you doctor them.
Yeah, you doctor them up. Yeah.
So I have an
I got a recipe to use chicken broth. It works well. It really does. Sour cream.
So we got something called pearl or something.
The pearl.
Right, I'm losing pearl.
I mean, you can taste them a little bit, but it's not enough to really matter.
Whenever I have to cook for $100, I'll mix the pearls and regular.
Do you have a mixer?
No.
Do it all by hand. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to have to do it all by hand.
Everybody always laughs. They know when I'm making mashed potatoes, I put the pot in between my feet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How big a tub do you need to do 100 pearls? You will mix them.
You mix a little bit at a time.
You can do that. You can do a mix of a little.
You gotta have that hot water.
Mashed potatoes.
You don't have to put
Yeah.
butter in the potato right on the first fire.
That's true. Yeah, you can do it right there.
Well, I wear a bandana and a hat. I am a sweater.
We put a trough out at a time, and then as I'm getting into the night, some more
Coming up.
They're back there. But we also
Yeah,
have
they don't take long.
200 and something. I think it's 205, 210 degrees that's coming out.
See, we don't.
Yeah, it has.
It has to be very, very hot to make those things go away.
Yeah.
Talking about instant
Yeah,
potatoes.
we're gonna plate
You know, it's the
everything.
number one thing that burns people in any kind of restaurant. It's mashed potatoes. It's like lava. It hits you, you can't stop the burn. It continues to burn you. There's a paramedic firefighter before us shift. And potatoes are the number one thing that
Really?
give you an audition.
Wow. But yeah, we got a little tub and we just make like 2 gallons, do a pack or something. We do a pack at a time, throw them out, start serving. Hey, you know, that way it doesn't, they're not sitting either.
I bought these individual warmers. First I thought we'd make a steam table. We want to plate everything.
Okay.
So I've got 3 portable units.
Everybody ready? All right. This looks like the reason I told Marcus I wanted to teach this class is because every other class I've taught for the past 7 years that I've been involved, actually it's been 6 years, this first year I didn't teach. I'm teaching accounting, I'm teaching decoration, I'm teaching how to cook, whatever. It's always, well, let's go talk about Wednesday night meal. And, you know, it could be something totally unrelated to, and you always end up talking about Wednesday night meal, so I'm like, we need a Wednesday night meal class. So, this is the Wednesday night meal class. I don't really have an agenda to hand out to you. I don't have a presentation to hand out to you because we always diverge from it anyway. So, we're going to talk about Wednesday night meal. So, that's why we're here. We're all in this together. We all have a midweek, well, not all of us, but probably everybody in this room has a midweek fellowship meal, whether it be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever. And so, I'm going to tell you my story of our Wednesday night meal, and then I'm going to open it up to you guys, and we're just going to see where the class goes. Is that on?
Yeah, he was in here.
Okay.
On time, I think he was on time.
It doesn't happen.
He turned it on.
First
He
5
was
minutes,
on.
explain stuff.
Okay. So, I've been at Houston First Baptist for 10 years. when I came to Houston's First Baptist, we were getting about 30 people on Wednesday night meal, and this is a large church. We have about 24,000 members. About attendance on Sunday would be, at that point in time, 4,000 to 6,000 people on Sunday morning. So I figured 30 was not the best of attendance for Wednesday night service. Something's got to change here. So I worked through that for a little while. I tried changing up the food. I tried looking at different service styles, and nothing really seemed to work. It was still less than 100. And this is me taking over a facility that was built for Wednesday night meal. It was designed for Wednesday night meal, designed for the customer of Wednesday night meal. So much so that my dish room is not in my kitchen. It's separate because it's better for the customer. So that's how focused we were on Wednesday night meal. They would get consistently 1,000 plus people for Wednesday night meal when it was designed and built 35 years ago. So 30 people, not the best turnout. Part of that was due to the fact of there was not such a great emphasis on Wednesdays anymore, because that's really an old school. You went to Sundays and you went to Wednesdays, and that's what you did. And that thought process has kind of gone away a little bit with the older generation dying off and people moving out of the cities. We are a very large city. We have every zip code in the greater Houston area represented in our church body, which is like 25 zip codes. Some people drive an hour and a half to come to church. They're not going to do that on Wednesday night. There's much more emphasis on family sports now. They're not going to come to church because Johnny's got a baseball tournament, because he is in year-round baseball or whatever. So there's a lot of factors that play into our Wednesday night meals or midweek meals. So I'm at 30 people trying to figure out what to do. Played with that for a couple of years, and I went to our leadership and said, look, something's got to change. We either need to kill Wednesday night meal, because I got 10 people or 8 people serving 30 people, or we got to change something. And so they molded over, and the church was kind of going through a growth and a metamorphosis, because by this point in time we had a new senior pastor. We've been several years without a senior pastor. And continued to grow and flourish. God really blessed us. But again, something had to change on Wednesdays. So they came back and said, okay, we'll make you a deal. We're going to really push for Wednesdays. We're going to transform Wednesdays from Wednesday night service, Wednesday night one study, no child care, nothing. We're going to open it up just like Sunday morning. So we're going to have all the child care. We're going to have a class for every age group. We're going to have a class for every level. We're going to have a class for every person who wants to come. We got divorce care. We got, how to write a family budget. We got how to raise kids, how to adopt a child. We got every kind of class you can think of on Wednesdays now. So we have probably about 50 different classes going on Wednesdays. That's a big commitment on education's part, because that's a lot of coordination, that's a lot of volunteers, that's a lot of things going on. So I stepped up and said, that's awesome. I'll do the exact same thing. We're going to ramp it up. Wednesday night meal, when I took over, was a hot plate and a bowl of salad. And so you got your hot plate, and you got your, put some salad, and you went and sat down and ate.
On disposable? Or on
China. We've always served Wednesdays on China. Not always my first choice, but that's what we've done.
How much money was that? I mean, what'd you charge?
$5. And that $5 was the same $5 that we were charging 35 years ago.
Right. That's what we're still charging.
I was gonna say ditto.
So, and it was, if you wanted to come back for seconds, yes, you were allowed to have seconds. So, fast forward back. I said, what I'll do is I want to set up a sweet tomatoes kind of vision. That's my vision for Wednesday night meals. I want to make it awesome. I want people to be excited to come eat. I want to have 8 stations for people to eat at. We're going to set up a pasta station, a bread station, a soup station, a hot entree station, a salad station, a dessert station, a fruit station, a kids station, and a drink station. Actually, that's 10. We have 8 now. That's what I want to do. And so I jumped off the deep end We got new equipment, we got new tablecloths. I spent $4,000 or $5,000 getting Wednesday night meal outfitted, and they realized this is a significant investment. He's gonna lose money. And my leadership was behind me on that, because they realized that if they're gonna get people through the door to come to their class, that's another draw. It's an amenity that draws people. Just like we have a gym is an amenity. It helps get people in the door. It's not the reason why people come. And my meal is not the reason why people come to church. If I can get them in the door, then they'll come eat at the meal. And so we play off each other. There's a meal and there's a class. Most people come for the class and they come to the meal. Some people come for the meal and go to the class. But there are a couple people
I have
who
a few
come
of those.
but it's not a majority. And every single week somebody's on stage going, here are the classes that are available, this is where you need to be headed. We shut down the meal 15 minutes before class starts. And that's designed that way purposefully. So, hint, hint, it's time to go to class or go to Bible study. This room is now closed. Fellowship elsewhere. Blessings. Yes, ma'am.
How long do you lunch? How long does your dinner last?
Our meal is from 4:45 to 6:45.
And how many do you serve now?
Depending upon what part of the season of year, if you will, anywhere from 4 to 600.
4 to
600.
600. Okay, that's what I thought. I had 600.
So it's taken me 10 years to get to those numbers.
How many people are on campus for classes? What's your percentage?
1,000, 1,200. So we probably get half. And some people are rolling in right for class.
Still charging $5?
We are not charging $5 anymore. I've restructured pricing. Seniors got a little upset with me when I changed prices. So to kind of placate them a little bit, because we have some seniors, but they're not a majority of my business at this point. It's really the families. So kids are $450. Seniors are $5. And adults are $6. Now I say kids. I'm not going to argue with anybody who a kid is. So I'll ask the child, are you 13 or it's 13 and above are adult price. 12 and under are kids. If they have a toddler, they're 99 cents. I don't advertise that price, but that's what we charge. And so free 99 cents, same thing, really. So that's our pricing structure, and it's worked really well. We haven't got much pushback. We do not have a family cap. I know a lot of you guys have a family cap, $17, $20, whatever. That's great too. And again, your leadership needs to be behind you on that, because that's gonna cost you money. And my leadership was okay with me losing money on Wednesday nights. They actually gave me money to lose money for Wednesday nights, so I wouldn't raise the price. Because I had gone to them a few years into this and said, okay, we haven't turned the corner yet. I'm still losing money. We either have to raise the price because of the quality and the increase in food that they need, or we have to subsidize. And they said, we'll gladly subsidize you. Here's $4 grand. That'll make you even for the year. It's done. Yes, sir.
What percentage are your Wednesday night sales compared to your total revenue?
Wednesday night sales are in the neighborhood of $2,500-ish. And total revenue on a weekly basis for me, that's, I don't know, it's probably like, depends on what time of the year. It really, because again, we're
if you average
very
out for the year, is it 50%?
Second?
If you average it for the year, is it about 50%?
Oh, no way.
Greater or less?
Less, much less. Probably maybe 15 or 20%. Not even that much. Because now, part of the trade-off for me going, I haven't gotten there yet, part of the trade-off for me going to this grand, massive buffet is I get winter and summer off. Because when the summertime came, I'd have 5 people there. I'm like, really? It was down from 30.
Yeah.
And then the winter time, everybody's so busy with Christmas, Thanksgiving, all of these things. They're not coming either. So, and there's no classes. So that was my whole deal. If you're going to have a class, I'll have a meal. You don't have a class, no meal.
Okay.
So I am tied by the hip to the classes that are taught. So when they're gonna have a class, I'll feed a meal.
Another question on that. I walk in the door, I buy adult meal. You have 6 stations. I can visit the stations. Do I get one plate and I go to all the stations, or does each station have a plate? And if I finish that plate, do I go get another plate? I'm trying to get an idea. And
The
then
way our cafe is laid out is, you come in the cafe door, you go down kind of a little funky hall, the hot windows inside, you get your beverages at the beverage stations, the soda fountains, and then you pay at the cash register. Now, if you don't want the hot meal, that's fine, it's still $6, doesn't matter what you pick, you can have 1 potato, $6. Well, I only want a bowl of salad, sorry, it's $6, okay? I'm sorry, my computer does not have a button for that, I have to charge you $6.
Just eat more.
Done. Now, if they just wanna buy a bottle of soda, I have a button for that, I'll take care of it. So, and that's by design. I don't want to do a la carte, because if I do a la carte, I'm done for.
Do you take IOUs from the pastors?
All the time.
Yeah, and just give me a second on that.
Okay.
But to finish up the
So,
question though.
so they'll flow through, they'll get their hot plate, they'll pay. I have salad plates out. They can use those for salad, potato, I have soup bowls out. I have bowls by the fruit, I have bowls by the dessert. So, everything has its own dish. If they want seconds, they can go back and get seconds. We've just, in the past year and a half, moved to half portions on every plate. And it saved us money and it's less trash. They want seconds, well, come back, get seconds. And we tell people that. You want more? Come back and get more. Well, can I have more right now on my plate? No, sir. Well, why don't you go ahead and let me keep serving all these people, and you come back and get some hot when you're ready.
So you have people serving on each station throwaway?
Only on the entree.
Okay, so salad is self-serve, chicken self-serve.
Everything else is self-serve. We originally had the hot entree in the dining room as well, and we had 2 hot entrees, 2 veggies, and 2 starches out every week. And it became who could get the most food, Tower Pizza order. Because oh, that looks good. I gotta taste that. Ooh, and this, and I gotta taste that, and I gotta taste. And well, I still want salad. And oh, there's sweet potato. I love sweet potatoes. And so it's okay if you give them smaller portions. They can come back.
Question, how, I mean, with numbers, that's one thing I battle with really big, is okay, last week I had 125, or 2 weeks ago I had 125, the week before that I had 157, and now what am I gonna have? Do I cook for 200, do I cook for 125? I mean, what do you, and I'm like, I'm always worried, am I gonna have too much waste, am I not gonna have enough? I mean, how do you figure that out?
2 things. One, do you track your numbers?
Yes.
On a spreadsheet?
Yes.
So you can see 3 years back?
Yes.
Okay. So
But
you can see
there's no
trends.
pattern. I mean, like, maybe within 5 people, but sometimes it jumps up 30. I mean, there's like no pattern.
Second thing is make sure and communicate with your other ministries.
Mm-hmm.
Is your choir not meeting this week?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a huge hit in our world, in my world. This past Sunday when I worked, we usually have about 15 tickets in the cafe, and I had like 45 tickets for lunch. And we're talking like 5 people on each ticket, not just like 1 person. But they killed us. And after the fact, I realized they're setting up for Sunday school. Nobody left. They all came to the cafe so they could just stay and set up their Sunday school rooms for VBS. I didn't even think about that because I just opened on Sundays this past year and I haven't been through that yet. So definitely have to build your history and look back and see the trends. Communicate with your other ministries. Who's your client? Who's coming? Why are they not there? Is it just a random family that didn't come Wednesday night? Or is there some reason like, oh, children's choir is meeting tonight, but they didn't meet last week?
Or also, earlier you were talking about how, you know, when you don't have groups, you don't have dinner. We're kind of the opposite thinking of that, is that in the summertime, last year we tried it out for the first time, it was a big success. This year, it's not going to happen just simply because of other issues. But we found, like, okay, just because it's summertime doesn't mean people will run away from church. We want them still here in church.
Sure, absolutely.
So even though we only had like 1 group, but we were like, we'll still come for dinner, come for fellowship. So we still kept dinner year round.
Right.
And it worked out really great too, but once again, then we never knew from week to week who was coming. one week we had 25 and the next week we had 80.
Right. Well,
So-
okay, some churches do reservations.
Yeah, we tried that so bad.
If you can do reservations, that is amazing. I wish I could do reservations.
We've made some online reservations this year, and it has helped tremendously.
Do you give them a price discount?
No, that's a good idea.
Here's a thought. Reservation online stays the same price. You're at the door, it's $1 more.
Good.
That's an incentive to make reservations, and you're not, and 90% of the people are gonna make reservations because they're getting the same price, but you're able to raise your price and get more revenue, so that's one way to kind of help yourself a little bit. Another thing with the issue is prep your food and stage it. And if you're the only one in the kitchen, that's kinda hard to do, but just like yesterday in the kitchen, if you were in the kitchen with Chef Mike, you know, you sear your steaks, or you mark your steaks, and they're ready to go in the hotel pan, and then you fire one hotel pan at a time in the oven. 10 minutes, ready. That gets low, throw another one in, 10 minutes, ready. That way, they're not all sitting in the hot box, they're not all dying, because they're just getting baked because they're waiting. So that's another way that would work really well for you, is you par cook it, and then all you're basically doing is rethermalizing or heating.
Do you go to staff meetings?
Yes.
Okay, cause I found one of the things there, but when I was excluded from or I wasn't invited, my counts were all over the place and I was like throwing darts at a dartboard this big. When I got into staff meeting, I started hearing things. They weren't talking directly to me, but there's not gonna be childcare for this event. There's no childcare, that's 25% off the books right away for me.
Yeah.
So those kind of things, see, sometimes they don't put it together to listen. They don't know our business.
Right.
They don't know our world. That's one of the things to do it. You can also find, like he's saying about staggering the cooking of food. If you do that, you'll able to save that food and use it another time. Have a clean out once a month. Turn around and do an open buffet. We did it for 3 weeks. Just a couple weeks ago, or a couple months ago, last month, and we did 3 weeks. We put them out, and we just let them do whatever they wanted. But we had 3 entrees out there, we had 3 vegetables, and we just cleaned things out.
Okay.
And it's just, or somebody mentioned, I think it might be you, soup.
I do a soup night. I do a
night.
soup night, and people that normally don't come for Wednesday night supper, they come out of the woodwork. I mean, they love it, and they love having 5 different soups to choose from, and there's great meat in the soup. They're chunky, they're not just broth and a few pieces of this or that. They're really good, because it's all leftovers, and it's pure profit, basically, for my department.
Because it normally would've went trash or given
Exactly,
away.
yeah.
But we have meals on wheels, so we can be off by 80 people.
Yes, I did that this year.
Yeah, breakfast for dinner is very popular with that.
Yeah, that's huge. That's where you make up all your money, serving those 3-cent eggs.
Put the bacon in. Talk about to go.
Breakfast for dinner.
Yes, okay, hang on. So, your question,
Pastors. The pastors.
how do you deal with pastors? Okay,
I feed them for free.
they're our boss,
They paid twice.
so to speak, because they're on the leadership team.
Depends on the church.
Yeah.
Yes, and a lot of these suggestions, I mean, it depends on your church. We're a large inner city church that has people drive a long way to come to our church. So what works for me is not gonna work for your mid-sized rural church or might live in the same neighborhood or stuff. So you're gonna have to pick and choose what works best for you. That's why we're talking about it together. Pastors, we have a computer system, and all of our staff has been blessed to be paid for by the church. It's a huge perk. Them and their families, if they work on Wednesdays, is paid for. So, and that's paid for by another department, another ministry. It's not picked up by my books. So I have an account number, and we give everybody scan cards because we have laser readers or barcode readers. So if they have their keys with them, they got the little key fob that has the scan, they got it. Now, pastors they don't have their stuff. I forgot my wallet. I don't have my keys. My wife has it. Whatever. So I know their face. I'm the boss. I can do them. My volunteer cashiers cannot. They do not have that authority. I know the staff. I will do that for them. They'll call me up. No problem. I got you this week. Just try to remember next week. Gracefully take care of it. A gentle prod in the ribs, and we're good. It's not worth the battle and the blood that it's going to cost you and the goodwill with them. you're building goodwill with them. I got her. Yes, ma'am.
No, going back just to the soup for a little bit.
Yes.
We had, many times we had leftover soup, and it was perfectly good soup, and, before that I was giving it away. But what I did is got these little individual belly containers about yay big, with a nice seal on it. I filled them up, and if you want soup, they're $1 a container.
Yep, I sell leftover
And,
soup too.
yeah, and I have a nice variety of grease. What do you want? You want this, or this? And some of them take home 7 or 8 of these little containers, and they're happy as well, especially
awesome.
single people.
It's a great idea.
You sell it that night?
Sell it that night.
And do you advertise it, or how do you?
We just passed, I have a sheet, a flyer that I put out. in the
So you
front.
sell it once it's cold? Or you
Yeah,
sell it
I put it in
hot?
the freezer.
Yes.
Put
So
it
like
in the
the
freezer.
week after you sell it? I
Well,
sell it that night.
I sell
And
it
it all
both
goes out the
ways,
door.
that night and in the freezer.
Okay.
$3 a quart. It pays for my
Mr. Money?
quart container and $2 worth of.
Just going along with what we do at our church, and this is from our business administrator has set this up. We have a card with an account number on it, and he emphasizes to the pastors, this is what has been emphasized to us. If you don't have this card, they'll leave it in their office. You don't need it.
Right.
Go back up and get it.
Well, and that's been something that we've tried to communicate too. If you don't have your card, that's fine. We don't pay for it. Pull out your wallet and pay. The church isn't gonna pay if you don't have your card, because you lose all accountability at that point in time. Because, and that's one thing that we've had to get really strict on the ministries when they come down to the cafe to send their staff down to eat, and the ministry's gonna buy it, they gotta have a scan card. Because if I allow people to go without that scan card, I've lost my integrity of billing. And then they call me and go, what's this $4.50 charge? I don't know what this is. We didn't buy anything. If they have to have that scan card, I have integrity to go, you were here because there's no way I charged you without that card.
There's when we have volunteers work in another ministry, and they bring them down for lunch, if they don't have an account number, they don't, or food
Pull
service.
the wallet out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is there a certain program you use for that?
I use a software called, we just switched. We used to use FSS and we switched to, oh, I see their logo, hang on.
Horizon?
No, I'll think of it in a second. Sorry.
Well, we've increased number of dinners. One thing that we did, we actually have a comp sheet where our benevolence ministry, our Latin ministry, they can call, they have to send an email, so we have a tracker form. We'll add them to our list that we print up nightly, it goes out front. They come in, the people come in, they sign by their name, and we give their family their tickets. All it costs us is billing, because we just bill their ministry and we get paid. But I mean, we probably do anywhere from 20 to 25 comps a night. You know, interns that work for the youth group, that's a great opportunity. Sell it like that. Say, you know, do you wanna buy your interns dinner, you know, just basic costs of.
Well, actually.
Comolex.
Thank you.
Comolex. And, we do the same thing. It runs all of our billing through our computer. I mean, everything except for our large caterings, which we run through EMS. So all of our billing is done by the computer, so we can run report and get it all done at the end of the month really easily.
Schools too?
Schools too. We have the ministries that have their accounts, and we'll allow them, like we have single parent ministry. And they have said, we will pay half of the single parent's meal ticket. So if the person walks in and says, hey, I'm a single parent, no problem, no argument, because we've told them, you either give them tickets or we take everybody who tells us. And so we take everybody who tells us, we don't argue with them. Type in single parent ministry, ring it up, divide it in half in our head, $4.50, no problem, charge the rest of the ministry.
I did have a question, or kind of an idea to bounce off was, we have the same thing, is that we do a lot of comp meals, and I love doing comp meals too, because as my previous administrator told to me, is for our church, is that Wednesday night dinner is really a bridging ministry. You can easily get somebody to come to dinner. You can ask your neighbor, hey, come to dinner. You can't say, come to Sunday church.
Right.
But, you know, so you want to, or like new people that visit the church, we want to be able to say, here, come to dinner, come to dinner. But I can't afford to do that. But I thought about the idea of asking people to buy a heavenly meal. So asking our members, hey, would you like to purchase a $5 meal for somebody that may need it in the future, whether they need it or we just want to give it
What's
to them.
your food cost, Ron? For Wednesday night?
Basically what it's probably about between $4 and $4.50, paper goods, plates, everything.
So it's
food,
what you
everything.
charge?
Yeah.
Okay, cause my suggestion would be I could take, say, 50% off, so I could say
Yeah.
a 50% off meal and I would still break even.
But what do you think about the idea of
I love that
asking
idea.
people to?
We partner with our missions department. I gave them a design for cards. They print them up and hand them out to all new members, first visit free.
Yeah, we did that. We have our rapid response team that goes to all the people that visit our church or new members or whatever. But I'm still not even seeing a turnover from that. So I'm like, who doesn't want a free meal?
There's a lot of people. We hand out thousands of those every year, and I only see a handful come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Surveys will tell you 25% for a free product redemption on a coupon, it's only 25%.
So you give them a complimentary
Because our
award for the
cafe
people
on
that
Saturday
do.
nights is run by our
Members
mission
or
teams,
people who visit
and
first time
not
visitors.
necessarily by the
They wanna do
church.
that.
You know, the pastors
do
have
that,
a
or
piece of
first time
paper where they have to sign it.
Or new members.
They have to sign
First time
it when they've
visitor.
ordered anything. And the only thing that the team has to do is write down, you know, if he's buying 3 frozen drinks, how much 3 frozen drinks are gonna be. But Pastor Joe better sign that.
Right.
You know, at the end of the month, I create a bill. I get all these little cards in from every entity. I get it from the children's ministry, I get it from the teen ministry, I get it from guest services. And so every one of these are written on the back of, this is the Jeremy Haiti team, this is the Jeremy Haiti team. At the end of the month, I bill then everybody. And I have to tell you, I get all the checks within 10 days. You know, from the church, if it's charged to the church or even the missions or anything. But I said, well, won't you comp our meal? I said, I can't comp your meal. This is a mission team raising money. You know, it's not the church raising money, it's a mission team raising money. So no one has the right to tell the mission team, you've got to give a meal away.
Right.
Because they can't. They're there to make the money to go on their mission trips. So that's why we created the coupons from every entity in the church for them to pass out to help, because then the church then is helping that mission team create the business for them to go on their mission trip.
Yeah, and anytime you can put a charge account in somebody's hands, they're gonna spend more money.
Yep. That's why all the fast food went to Coke.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a question. It kind of deals with Wednesday night, but it deals with the other thing too. In a year's time, you have a budget and stuff, you charge for everything. From your heart, from whatever, how many free meals do you give out?
Intentionally or
Wednesday night, Sunday
unintentionally?
morning, Sunday night?
Yeah.
And how does everybody else handle that?
If somebody walks into our doors, and we get lots of people, lots of homeless or whoever walk in the door looking for a handout, if we're open, I will feed them. And I just have created in the past year an account it's HSBC customer service. And so that's my account, it's my internal account, that will always be negative because I'm never gonna put any money in there. But I'm tracking how much I'm giving away. I would venture to say we probably give away a hot meal to somebody in their hands, a couple dozen a month. Now, all of our leftovers from Wednesday night, all of our leftovers from the school lunch, things that I deem that are still safe to eat, but inferior quality for me to serve, we have an apartment ministry right across the freeway that has a kids club. And these are kids that probably only eat at school. And so we take all of that leftover food that's still healthy and good and give that to them. Sometimes we give it to them hot, they can show up right away and they can feed the kids right away. A lot of times we give it to them after we've chilled it so that we know it's safe for them. And they take it and they basically take it in their trunk. 5-minute drive, open the trunk lid, they have a stack of to-go boxes, and in 8 minutes it's gone. So that's how we are able to get rid of a lot of our leftovers. So on an annual basis, overall meals, thousands, but in my hands, a couple dozen.
Do you have a problem getting paid when you do events? Like we do huge events, you know, we feed 30,000 people a year.
Right.
But we'll have these groups come in and they're like, okay, for Christmas, I want you to do a party for 350 people for Sunday school.
Right.
Well, they come in, I feed them, and I go, okay, well, I have special price, $15 a head. I I give them an invoice and they go, okay, well, we'll pay you sometime. And they leave. And so there's no accountability.
Is this in-house or out-of-house?
This is in-house and out-of-house both, because we're a church. We do a lot of stuff for schools and different things like that. And we can't charge them ahead of time, and they don't never have the money. And so sometimes I'm waiting 2 or 3 weeks to get paid, and I have to go to finance. Finance is going.
Why can't you charge them ahead of time?
Well, that's the deal. The way our business is set up, our business director, they're like, they're good for it, don't worry about it, it's a small community. And I have a tough time getting paid. And I said, can you go to a restaurant and feed 300 people and all of you get up and walk out and go, we'll pay you later. It's okay.
Outside groups have to pay us up front.
Yeah.
Within 10 days lead time. If they're not paid, we don't do the event.
And see,
Sorry.
we sign contracts.
In-house are billed at the end of the month, every month. So whether it happens on the 1st or the 31st, we send it off at a month time, and they get hit for whatever month's charges we have, be it 1,000 or 10,000. And then our accounting department handles all of that, the business office.
Having a good relationship with your accounting department.
So the accounting department wants to close the books. They want to be done. So they should be doing those transfers for you like that.
Yeah, because they'll go from the budget, they'll go from their account into the hostess account or the director account.
The one thing I do, I refuse to order food for that event until I have an account number on that paper. And if it's the day I have to order, I'll go to whoever and say, listen, I gotta order your food, give me your account number. Because I can take that account number to my accountant and say, bill this.
Well, yeah, that's easy, but like these are Sunday school classes where they're like, well, I haven't collected 30 checks from the individual, so I can't give you
I am
numbers.
so sorry.
Yeah, and that's what we get. These are the elders, and then they come back and go, well, I'm paying your salary. I'm your boss.
Actually, no, you're not.
I know.
I'm a self-supporting ministry.
God's my boss.
When we have Sunday school classes do lunches or dinners, I charge the discipleship ministry, and they're responsible for getting the payment back.
We don't do.
I get paid every month.
Like I said, in-house is department to department. So if they're a women's group,
yeah, we do a lot of transfers.
The women's ministry will collect those checks. I take my money from their budget and I'm done. They're in charge of collecting. If they choose to be nice to their ladies and go, you know what, it's okay, you don't have to pay me now. That's their deal.
So are you kind of saying just like randomly a school class will walk up to you and say, hey, can you make us some muffins next week?
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Oh, okay. Well, then you know what I'd start telling them?
Yeah.
I need a 30-day notice of money up front.
Yeah, we tried that, and then our administrators are like, no, let it slide, it's okay, and then it comes out of my budget, and at the end of the year, they're wanting to know where the money is, and I'm like, look around.
Tell the administrators they need to.
Tell the administrator he needs to pick up.
Yeah, trust them.
Change the account.
I had beautiful hair when I started this.
Yes, Ron.
I know it's a hard line, we've all been through it, but our line is, any outside organization that is not paid, the event does not happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Inside events, pretty much we bill, like you say, for the month to that ministry. But, and I know it's hard to say to the little church up the street or whatever, but you have to hold that line because they don't pay you because they can.
But if they're going to Hilton, Marriott, the convention center, it's no different. I have a more lenient guarantee than saying that you have to give me your number here, but you can increase by up to 10% up until 3 days before your event. They don't get that anywhere. If they have 20% walk in, I'm gonna still feed them. May not be the same menu. I'm gonna still feed them, but you're already giving them 10 times what they get. Your overhead's usually lower than what they'll get on the outside. They can't beat the pricing of it. I mean, and I usually explain that to them. I said, if somebody wants to question me about it from outside group, when they're done shopping, they'll be back.
And there's no plus either.
Yeah, well, like he's saying with some of the ministers come up and say, I'm your boss, and this, that, and the other. Hey, listen, they understand what they're doing, but they do not understand your business, and they need to understand.
Yes.
Ultimately, they're gonna be held accountable.
Lovingly, you gotta educate.
Well, my favorite thing you say is, you went to seminary, I went to culinary, let me do my job.
That's Kevin's
He's
line.
a Kevin's
If your administrative department is saying you need to accept that business, then you need to talk to them about having a separate account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a backup account. And say, okay, if they, let's say, let's use the 60 muffins. Okay, I need 5 dozen of muffins for Sunday because we're having a special thing. Okay, great. Well, this is the price, and you need to pay me ahead of time. And if you can't pay me ahead of time, you need to talk to accountants. And then the accountants say, okay, we have you on here for such and such Sunday school class. this is what your amount is. If they haven't paid you on time, the accountants have to contact that group and it's on them. You can do
Yeah,
that.
cause the accountants are supposed to be, I mean, they're billing and collecting, that's not your job, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, or
Your job
another
is to
solution
produce
would
the
be,
pig with a smile.
you go to your boss and you say, look, all of these things are outstanding, they're still on my books, can we create another account? So you can see, okay, all of my, these are my outstanding bills at the end of the year. They're not in my books look great, but here's the notch, here's the bad part, and this is what it's causing, you know, it's causing by disgrace, by you allowing them to do this, because I'm not gonna overmanage you, you're my boss.
Yeah.
Paul, what does your food cost run overall, catering, banquets?
You know, I don't have a hard number.
What about a guessing number?
I would say I'm in the 40s. I'm pretty high, 45.
Anybody else, what's your food cost run?
Mine's also run about, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, close to it.
Mine's about 45, but I also have vending, which I make next to nothing on. I have an academy, which I don't do great on, but when you factor them all in, it's up in the 45.
What about labor? What's
That's
your
all
labor
over the
run
place.
overall?
I could tell you annually, but the thing
Yeah,
is,
I'd say
I have
annually.
some
That's
events that I run volunteers with, I have some that I run paid staff, and some that I run both. I would say it's probably around 22, 23%, and that's, on normal restaurants, that's high.
30%.
You run 30%? I use more volunteers.
I don't have a large volunteer team, but I've also been able to increase my sales, and that's come down recently. But yeah, it's in the high 20s to 30. Yes, ma'am.
I'm curious how you would start building a paid staff. When you have none, when you're the only one, how do you start?
Scary.
I mean, I don't wanna just go, hey, I need somebody to help me in here, and you never know who you're gonna get. I'm not interested in that. I want somebody who's gonna be in there to turn out a good product. Say again?
Do you have a local culinary school?
We have one here in Orlando, but I don't have anything close to me. I'm about 45 minutes away from here. So.
About volunteers, do you have any that volunteer with you? See, that's what I did, the lady that did it, I volunteered in the kitchen, and then the one guy left, and she's like, hey, you wanna do it? And I was like, sure. So she already knew what I did, so now I get paid.
The last 4 people we hired were all volunteers. They're well,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
eliminate
you
all
train
that
them,
training
you know
when
if they
do
work
it.
or not, there you
You
go.
know the expectation.
And they know how.
And the
what
ones that
you-
come and volunteer for about a week or 10 days and then you don't have them back.
Have a good relationship with
Yeah, you
the
didn't have to
boss.
hire them, yeah, so that's a bonus.
The other thing is, we have a really good, program called, CCB, Community Church Builder, I think is what it's called. And it's a program where every member is evaluated on what their God-given talents and abilities and skills and passions are. And I can go through there and say, I need somebody that has a servant's heart or has a passion for cooking, and it will pull me up 30 names. Or you just go to the people in your office and you say, hey, do you guys know of anybody that, likes to serve or likes to cook or likes to bake? And I guarantee you they can give you 1 or 2 names, and that 1 or 2 people will give you 2 or 3 more people, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, opening up your kitchen to staff is really hard. I was really lucky that when I took over the kitchen, we had some existing staff that I was able to bring on board, and kind of, they knew the ropes, and then I just had to retrain them on the correct way to do things.
Yeah, well, that's been a challenge as well.
But if you're running solo, volunteers is a great way to at least get started and get some people in there. Again, you're gonna have to screen those volunteers just like you would a staff member, because you're gonna be working for them, and it's harder to fire a volunteer than it is a real person.
Oh, yeah.
And it's hard to go there.
Which kind of brings me to another question too, when it comes to volunteers and staff members' pays and stuff like that. Because I kind of came from the secular world and came into the church, is that, sometimes I feel like I need to train people and do the whole sit down list in school and this, that, and the other. But people are kind of like, really? We have to do all this just to be a volunteer in the kitchen?
Yep, you do.
I mean, how?
Yes.
I mean.
You have to
They don't
train
wanna
them
go
just
through
like
it, you
you
don't
would a
need 'em.
staff, because
Yeah.
Why would you want a volunteer to do any less than your staff member?
Yeah.
Just because they're not getting paid doesn't mean they're any less of an employee, and you're gonna schedule your volunteers, and this is your scheduled time, and this is the time you'll be here, cause this is the time I need you.
We're called to do things well.
Well,
Yes.
no, I'm saying
We hold
on
that
their
standard.
end, I feel like I wanna do all this, and I do all this, but sometimes I get some resistance from them, like, why do we have to go through all this? All we wanna do is volunteer in the kitchen. But I'm trying to figure out how I can make that
maybe they're the
known to
wrong
them,
person and
fun. Yeah.
Let them know you just have a high standard and you just wanna achieve it. We do evaluations on volunteers. Okay, we do staff evaluations, she'll say that, but we do but it's just another opportunity. You know, they say that thing when the ship's rudder's off a degree, over a course of 10 hours could be going in, 25% of the wrong direction. You just gotta be careful with that there, but you're just trying to keep everything going in the way you want. You have a high standard, you built that, you said, you can't have 2 or 3 doing it wrong, cause what happens is, I'm a paid employee and I see them getting away with it. And you're saying, but they're volunteers. Well, the difference, and she'll tell you about that, we have one very lazy volunteer. We have 3 or 4 really good ones, and we wanna keep talking to that person, cause we don't want the other ones to become lazy, or an acceptable behavior is not correcting a behavior that you see.
That was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my 7 years there, was tell a volunteer that I can't have her in my kitchen or my dining room or anywhere around people ever.
You don't have to, you reassign them. Paul, aren't you looking for?
I tell you what I do to alleviate that a little bit, is I have, teams of volunteers, and I don't have like a whole list that I just schedule. I have team 1 has like 6 volunteers, team 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they just rotate every week, so there's 6, I mean, if you do it now and you have 6 teams, you're gonna be 6 weeks later, so they can schedule their time. I also have, when I have volunteers who, have a problem, but they wanna volunteer, but they're just not somebody that's really careful, I also have a volunteer pool that they, can be in. And what I get the volunteer pool for is all the extra events that we have. And I'll call people as needed. It just so happens I normally don't call them very much. and you'll know after the first time or 2 that they work, you'll know who they are. They still have a servant's heart. I mean, for instance, we have a person to hand out the rolls, the dinner rolls. If it's a person who likes to talk,
not the greatest.
not the best, because the lines back up and everything. So next time they work, or even that time, I'll have somebody come out. Oh, let's relieve you. Your feet hurt or whatever, and put them on something else. But I normally put them on cleanup or whatever. They go back out in the fellowship hall and start talking to somebody else, but then you move them to the volunteer pool.
Yeah.
But
yes, sir.
Thank you. I want to tell you about our kind of financial arrangement. I haven't met anyone here yet that has the same setup as me. I'm actually employed not by the church, but by a contract food service company.
Okay.
Still a Christian, and the church treats me as if in every way, but financially, that I'm part of the team member meetings. All
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But our arrangement is, they've done a budget and they say that, hey, you're allowed, so much subsidy per month, and it averages between $5,000 and $8,000. We're a church of 10,000 members, weekly Sunday attendance about 5,000. And so each month, we have a subsidy or a loss on a profit and loss statement that the church picks up. So, we're blowing that out of the water right now, but I was wondering, how is it set up for all the people that are employed for the church? You got a budget, but your also sales and catering fluctuates. So are you allowed to lose money, or?
I'll speak for probably 90% of the people in here. We're a zero-line ministry, which means at the beginning of the year you get X amount, 10,000, 1,000, whatever, and then that is how much you get for food service. You're generating sales, so then everything over and above that base amount that you get has to be paid for by the events that you do. So if you need to hire another staff member, that has to be picked up by the event that you're catering. If you need to buy more food, that's covered by catering, equipment, so on. So it takes a little bit of managing. Like my ministry, my salary, my accountants, we have an accountant just for food services. We generate a lot of invoices. Most ministries generate 1 a month. We generate like 10 a day. So I have an accountant just for us. My subsidy, so to speak, pays for my salary, her salary, and then Sunday morning coffee service.
That's outside of the $10,000 that you started with?
No, that's what I start with. My salary, her salary, and the coffee service, which is $30,000. And that's But, so, that's how our structure works, so I've been very blessed this year. This past year, I actually, when budget time came around, I requested a $20,000 reduction in my budget, because we're doing that well. And so, I'm hoping next year I will reduce another 20 to 40,000.
And they love
continue
you.
that trend until I am a true zero line item, so when crunch time comes in the economy, because it'll come another time, I'm not a threat to the church anymore because I don't cost anything and I provide a huge service.
Do you want to do the to-go boxes for dinner and tell me what you do?
To-go boxes for Wednesday night, okay? We serve on China, so we got a lot of youth who come in, and we actually do youth tickets. We partnered with the youth ministry, so we'll sell them a youth ticket instead of at $6, because their kids are, even though they're youth, they're still adults. It's a $6 price. I sell it to them for $5. They sell it to the kid for $4. So they take a $1 hit on every ticket. Their ministry picks that up. The kids get a bonus, so it helps both of us. I take a little hit, they take a little hit, and I get more kids in the building. They like to-go boxes because they're going to be running back upstairs, and I don't want to have to trace dishes all around, so it's a win-win for me. We have a lot of people who want to-go boxes because they want to go eat outside, or they want to walk down the hall to the gym, or wherever. So they get their choice. They can have their meal on a plate or to-go box. It's their choice. If they eat with us and, oh, it's so good, I just can't eat anymore, can I have to-go box? That'll be $6. It's a meal. It's a meal.
But why aren't they just packing up on the plate?
It's a meal. I don't do to-go. It's an all-you-eat buffet.
But not all you can eat forever.
Right.
If you have a to-go box, they're going and filling it up and then rolling it in.
Correct.
Okay.
Now,
They could potentially do that.
they could potentially fill it up, eat it at the table, come back, fill it up again, and leave.
Right, gotcha.
But I'm handing out 50 to-go boxes a night compared to 600. So even if that is happening, kind of like Marcus says, let the Holy Spirit be their guide, and it's not worth the blood. That's not a hill I want to die on.
We don't allow to-go boxes either, but one thing we're gonna try in the fall this year is we usually have like a pan of each thing left over, and we're gonna box it up and keep it hot, so if after church they wanna come and grab a meal to take home, and it'll be full price. And then we sell our leftovers to the staff the next day for $2 for a leftover staff lunch, and they come up and we'll have.
I would encourage you to chill the food after that, not to keep it hot.
Not keep it hot.
Because they're full already, they don't want it
people
hot.
going home.
Yeah. And then you have less safety, food safety.
What about people, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, the to-go box thing that don't do buffet, that do hotline, do y'all let to-go boxes go? I mean, if somebody says, I haven't finished my meal, do you?
That was the issue that Herman and I were having when I came to work with him, you know. He's a very generous person, And I worked for the school system for 24 years, and, you know, you better generate money, you can't just let, you know, teachers come down, and we have a sleep class. Well, eventually, you're losing money, and you have to look at that. But you just have to be generous in the way you talk to people, and, you know, he would say, oh, yeah, you can have a go box. You realize how much money you're spending? And then they would go out and fill it up with other stuff. They take it out the door.
Right.
And it took me showing him that in his eyes for him to realize that it was occurring. So now, he says, well, I'll charge you 25 cents. Well, what's 25 cents?
I have people that take the to-go boxes and put sugar packets in it. I'm not even kidding, I was down there, I was watching them do it. She's called the sugar
I
lady.
got you a
Like,
tip
she
on
really
that.
does.
We have the sugar Nazis. What you gotta do on those is just have the person that's attending the dining room put a few packs of each out. When you see big piles, they think it's
Well, I know when
free.
she's coming in, I go check them and.
Yeah, we have a lady that takes her house home. She goes and gets the lid, the
Sugar lady.
I think that's in every church. They do the same thing in our church. They just dump it out, put it in their pockets.
Yeah.
Take the silverware home, do all that.
Are you willing to die on that hill?
No.
I do my side.
I had a young teenager that loves to drink the creamers, coffee creamers, little cups. Instead of drinking a glass of milk or something, drink the creamers. And then she was, every time I saw her going, I go, oh no, she's back again. Now, lately she's been volunteering in my kitchen as a person.
Get French vanilla.
No, they
Yeah.
Can I ask just for cost on the hotline, because we don't do buffet, we serve it, in the room, it, you know, is it $5 or more for your
cost?
church? Yes. No, for a hotline.
For cost or what you charge?
What you charge for your, okay. 'Cause
Oh,
we went
okay,
from
okay.
a $3 charge
Right.
per plate to a $5 charge.
Five is average for
Okay.
churches, it really is across the nation.
But I experienced a drop like, I was shocked. It went from 125 to 40 to 50.
You can do what I did. We just literally, like 13 months ago, went from $4 for baked chicken and homemade mashed potatoes and homemade macaroni and cheese and green beans and a full, like, Ruby Tuesday style salad bar, $4. And I was like, okay, we're going up to 5, that's all I have to say about it. I'm like asking my administrator. And I was like talking to some of my people and they were like, you know what? You can't even go to McDonald's and
Right.
$5.
That's right.
None of my families cared, not one of them.
Well, the other thing that happened too is we used to feed our pastors and our missionaries as well.
Yeah.
And they wiped that off too. So all in one shot.
I would
took a
literally
huge hit,
just-
and I don't know how to come out of it.
So Wednesdays are easy.
Does anybody do the salad bar by the ounce?
Do we sell it by the ounce? Okay. No.
I would just remind people, you cannot go anywhere, not even Wendy's to the dollar menu and get.
And I agree with you.
Yeah, you can say that in this room, but your
But
customers are, I mean,
Look at that.
they're not gonna see it that way.
I actually had really good success with that, but yeah.
I thought of having an open house night. Everyone come and enjoy a meal on us. Enjoy, you know, what we provide for you, a home cooked meal, and see why it is worth that amount of money.
Or just ask, you know,
I don't know.
I go into my dining room, I ask, you know, why are you here? What brought you here? What do you like about it? What do you not like
Yeah.
about it? Why would you not come? You
Bring
know,
your
and
friends.
find out. Yeah, I mean,
Who
just
you
literally
invited.
survey them.
We put up a suggestion box all around the church,
Yeah.
just for the food ministry, wanted to know, what do you want? And of course, you get T-bone steaks. But most of the people were saying, you know, 'cause we do full salad bar, homemade soup, full entree, 2 desserts, everything. And we were charging $5 for adults, $3 for kids. They upped it to $7 for adults and $5 for kids. It absolutely killed us. We went from 300 to 40. Like that. And everybody said, it's the cost. But we have brand new china. We're doing everything, and it's just me, my wife, and 2 other people.
Yeah.
The dishwasher doing everything. And all the suggestions, we got great suggestions. They wanted to bring in new foods and stuff like that. Everything we do is in-house. And we got the suggestions and stuff, but we started doing it. Numbers have not come back up. They want it for free.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody wants it for free.
That was included in the tithe, have you ever heard that one?
We do pasta once a month.
Well, I charge $7.99 a plate, and it's all you can eat. I did the all you can eat, and that increased my sales, and I track my numbers religiously, and maybe 2-3% a night will come back for seconds. When we do the full salad bar, it's on paper and plastic, and we have a family special. We do, the pastors eat free, their families eat free. I have maybe 6 pastors. We have 15 pastors at our church, maybe 6 take advantage of that. But I tell them, don't eat together. It's not a pastor's meeting out there.
Right.
You're to mingle.
You're here to
and
bring
they
together
know if I
families
catch
in.
2 of them together, I'm going to say something to them because I have. And so that spreads, you know, because I go up to them, hey, you guys, come on. You're not to sit together, you know, and I'm very harsh with them. But they, of course, it ain't the senior pastor. You know, it's the youth and the band leader, you know, so I mean, I'm not all that. But you know, I want them to kind of mingle, and that cuts down on a lot of the sharing, the to-go boxes, the creamers, you know, because I'm not going to do that in front of a pastor, you know. So you know, it kind of weighs out. And I did the free pastors because I wanted to. People will come to sit with the pastor.
They'll come to see him. It's like a
Yeah,
celebrity.
and the senior pastor does come occasionally. So you know, there's some value in that, because that was one of the questions the pastors asked me. What's in it for you? You know, we don't want to kill me. I'm in the red all the time. Why make me more in the red? No, that'll kind of help me get out of the red. because they'll come, and so it'll improve my numbers. But I'll tell you, I'd rather make money on $7.99 a plate. I'd rather make money on 40 people than to lose money on 400.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell them. I'd much rather, don't kill me. I mean, if you want it, okay. If you don't, okay.
And you have a predominantly older population?
I do. We're in Fort Myers.
I was gonna say you're Fort Myers,
Yeah.
then.
So it is, but we have families. We have a $20 max. We have families come for that. I only know of one pastor's family that comes regularly.
What's the numbers on your family, the limit?
No, there is no limit.
So if you come in with 14 people in your family?
Yeah, but it's just parents and children. It isn't aunts and uncles and grandparents.
I have a
Yeah,
problem.
so-
I have a problem with that. It was a real problem before I addressed the menu thing, but they wanted a family price, so we did a family price, and I wanted to limit it, and they were onto that. So I said, and I knew they were gonna. So I said, how about 8? Because
8 people?
8 people in the family. Because we have several families in our church that are big, and the pastor came back to me the day after we talked and said, well, we have 2 families that have 9 in it, so let's do 9. Okay, whatever. But we had families coming in, and of course I made a policy out that a family consists of people that live at your residence, because they would bring their grandma and granddad or uncle, and the next door neighbor's here because he wanted to come to church, and that would be the family. What I don't want my cashiers to have that little battle with them.
That's not their job.
It's too much. If they want to have a battle, they can call me and I can discuss it with them. But ours turned out, and it may change because it's crazy, $16 per family.
Pretty cheap.
Up to 9.
$1.70 per sheet.
Come on. I still have folks who kind of whine about that. Especially with the to-go box thing, because I limited before they would pay $16, feed 6 or 7 people, and come get 3 or 4 to-go boxes. And fill them up. Forget that. So I said, to-go boxes are $5. I don't care what other situation. The midweek meal is for families to come here, to fellowship here, and then to go to whatever services or classes being performed. Not for particularly for you to come get a to-go meal and go home.
Right.
I got a question, Paul. I don't know if you can help me out. It's not really Wednesday night related, but I thought I'd put it out here. My challenge is I have a cafe, and it's a quarter mile on the other side of the church. The walk-in coolers in my big commercial kitchen, and we share product on some things. I'd really love to have a food cost tracking system for the cafe, and know that everything else is, so I know the catering kind of takes care of that. You have an idea of how to keep those separate, separate inventories?
Do you have a place to store separate inventory?
Not really.
Then you're gonna have to.
Be a miracle cure, Paul.
You're gonna have to treat it like the cafe is a catering operation. So you're gonna have to issue everything to the cafe. So as you need more sugar packets, you're gonna have to issue them from the commissary a case, and you're gonna have to track all that either manually or with the computer.
There's a ton of product in the cafe that is, Monin syrups and.
Right. So you start with the opening inventory, and then everything else that you issue them, you have to track, and then you can compare cost versus sales that way. That'd be the easiest way to do it. But it's gonna be a lot of work either way.
Because they're also gonna come to your inventory and take it too, probably.
Yeah.
No, well, you staff at the cafe have to understand
Right.
anything issued to the cafe must be written on this sheet. I don't care what it is, I just have to know about it.
That's the way we did it when I worked for Air Market at FSU Florida State Stadium, and when you have 180 different booths and you have your commissary,
right.
You have to distribute to 102, 104, 197, 198, sweet boxes, and so on forth. That way you know where it's going and how much is coming back. You have to keep track of it that way.
I got a question.
It's fun.
On Wednesday night, do you allow the church members to come into the dining room and get free tea and coffee?
Our tea and coffee is set up in the dining room, and there are cups on that station.
Real cups or styrofoam cups?
styrofoam.
We have walk-ins.
If,
And you allow that, I mean, anybody just come in here and bring their kids meals from McDonald's and get their own tea and Crystal Light like we have?
I
As you
don't
said
know.
before, if you really wanna fight
I'm,
that
it's
war-
not worth me keeping an employee over there to monitor $1.50 worth of tea.
Cause most of the people are gonna do the right thing.
Yeah.
The people
Yeah,
who are
that's
stealing
close to
stuff are the
0.5%.
minority. Most of the people are gonna do the right thing. You just have to decide whether
We
it's
have
worth
50, 60
the
people
hassle.
every Wednesday night, just break it up.
Okay, well, now, if I have a repeat offender, which I did, I lovingly wouldn't address it. I
Because
said,
there's no rules for it, everybody does it.
What about putting some
That
sort of
sounds,
like, you know how grocery stores have a 25-cent kid thing, you put something out there that, cause our midweek meal is in the
So-
fellowship hall, and then we have a message out.
where's your drink station compared to your cashier?
Oh, long way.
Can you move your drink station for it still be effective, but where?
They move, it's all wired in and everything.
Keep the cups.
Oh, so it's permanent.
Keep the cups at the cashier
So
station.
you sell, so you sell the cups, and you have to sell the cups.
Go to the cashier, you pay your 25 cents, you get your cup, you walk out the beverage station, bring your own cup.
I just give mine.
All run it deduction, and still bring your own cup.
Okay, so.
Does anybody serve milk on Wednesday dinner? Anybody do it by gallons or you do it by,
I put gallons out.
I go grab a cow.
If we have breakfast, I will give kids milk on request, but I don't put it out. Too expensive. Mary Lynn wants recipe ideas, so, or menu ideas. I'll tell you what we do. We do some very basic stuff. We'll do like baked chicken, roasted red potatoes, and broccoli. We'll do enchiladas, or enchilada casserole, which is even better because it's like a lasagna and you got less rolling issues. We'll do lasagna, we'll do king ranch, we'll do, we'll even do, pork chops, or maybe even like a tri-tip. You know, rice and veg, mashed potatoes and veg. We'll, you know, we do breakfast for dinner, which is very popular. We try not to do too many themed, heavily themed foods, because when we do those nights, the pizza and the Chick-fil-A disappear extremely fast, and we're stuck with entree.
Like what kind of entree? What was, like Mexican?
We do it like a